Real estate company talking real estate segment. So every week we jump on here, give you a rundown of what's going on. So yeah, we're talking about the buyers slowing down. And before we get into the numbers, let's jump into our quick tip. So quick tip today, I want to introduce, I mean, we're not introduced, but basically we haven't talked about it in a while. It's our championsrealestateteam.com website. So let me pull it up here as we go into, get out of there. There we go. So basically on here is our Champions Real Estate Team website, championsrealestateteam.com. You can get on, search all the active homes, most up-to-date information in that site. So one thing I kind of want to highlight on here, quick tips on under the buying and selling section. So basically under the sections respectively, that we have our buyers and seller guide. So basically there's a home buyer guide. You click on the selling, it shows up on our selling guide. That's just a free download. Basically it'll pop up into our PDF there. So that way you can check out that. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, that's a quick resource. You can jump onto our website and, before we have a chance to have a coaching session with you, you can get a good information and get the ball rolling on that side. So basically, here's a little update. If you haven't seen our website, check it out. If you see anything that needs to be updated or anything like that, we're always want to, be top of our game. So if there's anything that we missed, let us know. And same thing like our videos. If there's anything you want us to cover in our videos, we'll rock and roll with that. So once again, championsrealestateteam.com. You can check that out. We have we are one of those teams that if you get on our website and register, we're not going to blow your phone up. I know, in real estate, they talk about speed to lead. Yeah, we want to make sure if you have any questions, we want to answer those, but we're not going to blow up your phone until you tell us to, stop bothering me. So we want to be a good resource for you. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And let's jump in here with what's going on in the numbers. Let me get our slides here we do every week. So new listings. So like I said, are the buyers slowing down? I think with the weather, as far as being the heat wave that we recently had, getting crazy out there. So buyers necessarily not wanting to go out there and look at the houses as much. Family vacations, like I know my family, we went to Minneapolis this last weekend. The week before, we were in South Dakota for a whole week. So I think this is that time right before school is getting ready to rock and roll. So those buyers that have those school age kids are out there looking, going out and doing things before school gets rock and rolling. So numbers wise, we're at 639. I think we're down from, I think it was 698, I believe, last week. And 390 on their new contracts written. I think we were at 445 last week. So we saw a little bit more numbers come down as far as new contracts written, new listings, down just a little bit, nothing too, it's basically very seasonal and typical for this time of year. Sold homes is basically indicative of what happened, 30, 45 days ago at 362. Our months of inventory stayed the same at 2.7. So, like I said, very seasonal on that side. So the inventory is kind of, just staying where it is. As the houses are, coming on the market, most of them are coming off the market in that light. So that's kind of what we're seeing as far as months of inventory goes. So what are the highlighted points? So obviously buyer momentum softening a little bit. I think that's just very seasonal. More time, may be available. So you're not necessarily having to, that house comes on the market. You may not have to write an offer that night. You may have an opportunity to think about it, and then write that offer maybe the next day. But, those ones that are the good houses, priced correctly, condition, all those locations, those things are important. Those still may be getting multiple offers as we see. Obviously, look for negotiation opportunities, maybe closing cost concessions, home inspections, things of that sort. So on the flip side, on the seller side, that accurate pricing is important. Those buyers that are out there are educated, in that regard. So buyers are obviously more selective. If they have more time, they can be more selective. Inventory obviously remains steady, like I said earlier. So that's kind of what we're seeing from the market. We'll keep it short and sweet here. So let's jump in with Russ. He's going to kind of go over Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. And you're on mute, so just remember to unmute yourself there. But yeah, so he's got an idea what's going on in the mortgage industry. We'll go from
How
there.
you doing, Mark?
Oh, rocking and rolling.
When you're recording this, we're 10 minutes away from the most recent or the upcoming Fed decision. Uh, who knows what they're going to say? There's a 1 in 3 chance that they might increase short-term rates for things like credit card, student loans, and auto loans. Two-thirds of a chance that they won't do anything. But more importantly, what they say about future activity is probably going to rattle the markets, and we're expecting some volatility this week. We know that mortgage rates are suffering a little bit because oil prices have surged yet again, this time in response to Iran launching missiles into some U.S. bases in Jordan. So as long as we have that volatility and the pressure on oil prices, that will spark inflationary concerns, and that could put upward pressure on mortgage rates. Having said that, though, of course, that Fed meeting today, we're wondering what they're going to say as far as things like balance sheet reduction, or whether they want to continue what's commonly called quantitative easing, which is essentially the Fed buying mortgage bonds, which helps to keep mortgage rates lower. So There could be a lot of things that come out of this meeting. We do believe they're going to have a press conference at 2:30 Central Time, and we'll know a lot more then. But having said that, mortgage rates are still below the 40-year average for rates, which is really amazing. And in the event that inflation were to spike, we could see mortgage rates go higher. So for those of you that are sitting on the fence thinking that rates are going to go lower, we've been saying or thinking that that could happen for several years, and we've been in this general range for a long time. So what has happened over the last several years, and Mark can add to this, is even though interest rates have not dropped like you hoped that they would, home prices have gone up. So while you're waiting for rates to drop, that home that you're wanting to buy, the price is going higher. So I'd encourage you to put a plan together to buy now. We've used the term marry the house, date the rate. You don't have to keep the mortgage for 30 years. You can always refinance it if rates drop, but you can't buy the house next year at today's prices if next year's prices are higher. So having said that, get with Mark and his team, put a plan together because this is a great time to buy a house. Inventory is a little bit better, and there is opportunity.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing we preach here and we talk and we coach our clients is that sitting down having one of those coaching sessions so that when the time is right for you, you're ready to go. And I think a lot of people, they jump online and they listen to Instagram videos or reels or watch YouTube things, which is great. It's great to gather as much information as possible, even using ChatGPT, using the AI and those type of things, which are great as well. But it's ultimately get that information so that you can, sooner the better. It's like, well, I don't want to bother Mark because, I'm not ready to buy. I don't want to waste his time. Those are things I hear from clients that I've worked with, and we've moved forward with buying houses and things like that. And that's, you're not wasting our time. Our job is to coach and educate you. And if you're gonna, we'd love the opportunity to work with you whenever that timing is, but sooner the better, so that you can get your ducks in a row, from a, credit score standpoint, from getting a down payment, from just knowing what type of financing works best for you, getting your income in place. I know we just had a kind of a coaching session with another client last week, and it was one of those that he just started a part-time job, in March, and he's like, "Was that income going to help me?" And it's one of those, and he met with Russ, and Russ was like, "Well, no, we need a little bit more time." But that's the opportunity that we can say, "Okay, great. We know where we stand, and now we can coach and we can educate based off that information that we have. Okay, we need another 6 more months. Okay, well, what can we do within that 6 months to make us an even stronger buyer? Okay, let's wait until we get that income verification set up. Okay, well, could we be saving a little bit more for a down payment? Could we be adjusting our budget, a line item, and saying, okay, where can we save a little bit more so that we can put more down on a down payment, and those type of things? Or do we need to move some investments around or things of that sort that may have to season a little bit? So those are just little things like that, yes, we're real estate agents, but I look at us as being real estate advisors. And it's just more of that, like, hey, here's some advice, here's some things that you can think about. And then obviously each scenario is different. So are you in retirement? Are you, right out of college and you're first time home buyer, and are you moving up, moving down in house size? And all those things, there's all, that's the variables that makes our job fun. In all honesty, it's coaching. Like, those know me before, like, coach hockey for I think 15 20 years almost now, and that's just my mindset works that way. And so it's just, how can we help you figure out what's the best scenario? And again, it's having a coaching staff around you, where Russ is the lending side, I'm helping with the real estate side, then having a title company, having an appraiser, all those different coaches that you can all get together and draw from and sit down in a conference room type of thing, as far as the sports analogies, watch game film of what our buyers doing, what our sellers doing. Okay, now when we're ready to go on the game, on the game field, we're ready to rock. And I think that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of buyers are hesitant from that aspect. Even sellers are like, well, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house, but not till next spring, next year. Should I sell it now? Should I sell it then? And then, what makes sense? Okay, well, there's maybe not a lot of buyers coming out in the buyer pool right now, because, interest rates, like we said, the stuff over in the Middle East. But you know what? We've had many conflicts, in my 18 years of being in this business. And one thing always stands true is that the market's always going to keep moving. Whether the market goes up, whether the market goes down, it's always going to be moving. And, most people that bought a house 10 years ago aren't disappointed with the price they got 10 years ago. Maybe at that moment when they bought this, oh, we feel it's a little bit higher than what we should do. But 10 years later, you're like, hey, I'm glad we bought 10 years ago. And the rates have changed, over those 10 years that you can refinance, you can keep the rate you have, and so on and that sort. So it's just, again, it's back to that education, side of it and helping you guys, the home buyers and sellers out there, to make sure that you guys know what's going on, and that's what, like, we do these videos and we talk about what's going on in the active market, and we can look back. I mean, and that's the other thing on my Champions Real Estate Team website. You can click on the videos if you want to watch back and they're all on YouTube, basically for the last 6 years, and you can kind of see the patterns of what's going on. And that's what we watch. That I know Russ is huge in the number game, on that side. I'm watching the market as far as the housing market. He may be watching more the lending side, obviously, and collaborating together. And that's what we've been doing for 6 years. And it's like, gosh, I wish I would have bought 10 more rental properties in 2021 at 3% interest rate. But I'm like, oh, I don't know what the market going to do. And I'm like, cripes, if I'd have bought that now, and the equity that I've gained over 6 years is crazy. And that's stuff that I'm full disclosure with my clients when I do a coaching session. Hey, here's my spreadsheet that I do in real estate investing. If it's an option for you, here's real world applications. Yes, I had I had an eviction, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows in that side of it too. So I'm very upfront and honest with any of my clients that go down that path. And hey, here's the real world applications of it. So anyways, so much for a short video. I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. But anyways, like I said, we'd love to help you. Reach out. Our contact information is at the bottom of our videos here. Reach out to any social media platforms. We're happy to listen, happy to help you. Do everything you want to throw in there, Russ? Anything?
No, you nailed it on the head. The important thing is put together a plan. There's no time that's too soon to start.
No, it's never too soon to start cutting your 2.5-year-old son's hair. Did that today, and I successful. So all right, didn't cut any ears off, and it looks all right. So, anyways, we like to have fun here. So there's always time. There's always opportunity to learn new things, right? So I've been cutting my
Absolutely.
dog's hair for a while. I'm like, hey, if I can cut the dog's hair, I can cut the kid's hair, right? My wife's like, oh gosh,
Good luck.
hold him down. No. So